Welcome to Inside the Realtor Studio, interviews with industry leaders and professionals in real estate. This year, the Tucson Association of Realtors turns 100, 1921 to 2021. We're honoring our history by conducting interviews of the past presidents of the Tucson Association of Realtors. We'll learn a bit of history by talking to the experts themselves. Today's past president is Donna Gallagher, who served us in the year 2000. Donna was first licensed in real estate in 1979 as Donna Williams and worked in her dad's office in Green Valley. She later acquired her own office there and eventually sold that in 1985. Donna then became the Director of Education for the Arizona Department of Real Estate in 1986. During her tenure, they extended the licensing program from 45 hours to 90 and began conducting educational presentations throughout the state. In 1991, Donna moved back to the Tucson area and married her late husband, thus acquiring the Gallagher name. In 1992, she joined Coldwell Banker and listed and sold real estate until 2000, when she was elected president of the Tucson Association of Realtors, as well as becoming the manager of the Green Valley Coldwell Banker office, where she served for 14 years. In 2005, Donna was elected as president of the Green Valley Association of Realtors. In 2015, Donna moved back to the C.B. Williams Center office and continued the real estate business until the end of October 2020, when she retired. Donna says that helping people find homes is a very good and beneficial work for anyone to do, and I'm happy to have done that for 42 years. And we're glad you did too, Donna. Let's give a warm Inside the Realtor Studio welcome to Donna Gallagher. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm learning so much as we go through these interviews about people that I just didn't know, and it's wonderful. Let's begin our voyage with a bit about real estate before you were president. So what drew you to real estate?
Well, my dad was in real estate and I was working in his office, typing contracts for the realtors and doing property management, and the office just mushroomed so fast and they wouldn't hire any help. So I went to night school at Hogan's and got my real estate license and came in and said, now you have to hire somebody because I'm selling, which is what he wanted me to do anyway.
So now, did you work alone or did you work with somebody else or a part of a team, or how did you do?
No, I worked alone.
You worked alone? Okay. And being there at that office, what was your real estate specialty? Did you do more with sales or more with listings? Or
actually, it was equal listings and sales, but I specialized at that time in land and ranches.
Oh, okay.
Which you can't do these days because they're not selling.
Yeah, so you're our second interviewed past president who specialized in land, since we did Vicki Cox Golder. So there you go.
Ah.
Yeah. And what was the technology of the day like when you began?
There wasn't much. We had the MLS books, which we had to update. Actually, my dad and brother wrote a computer program in the late 70s, I guess, early 80s. And I would do the input and collect listing information from the other realtors, the brokers in Green Valley. And we started our own dot matrix computer program.
Wow.
On a dot matrix printer. So we would give them our listings and sold information in exchange for theirs and distribute this list free to everybody.
Which means you didn't have to schlep a book around with you, right?
Well, yeah, we still made our own
notebook
with those pages, but it was, entirely self-produced.
And why was the business mushrooming so much back in those early days? What was attributed to?
Well, I don't know, because the interest rates were extremely high, but the town was growing,
Mhm.
The area was growing and it was becoming more and more popular. It had been in some of the retirement magazines. Uh, so there were featured stories about Green Valley and in general, the Southern Arizona area.
Well, let's shift over now to your presidency. You were in office, oh, I didn't do my homework here, in the year 2000.
Right.
What building were you operating out of at that point?
It was at 1622 North Swan,
Okay.
which at that time was white. Now it's cream colored, and it's the offices of Northwest Allied Physicians.
Oh, okay.
So it's smaller than the building TAR now occupies.
Oh, quite a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was adequate for us at the time. However, as I recall, it needed a lot of maintenance.
Oh, okay. And didn't we get it when it was built as a new building for us? Is that the one? I'm not sure.
I believe so, but I
Okay.
really don't have that information.
Okay. And who was your CEO?
Gary Duran.
Okay. And what was the staff like at that point? What did it consist of?
You know, I'm trying to remember. They were all very helpful, as I recall, but I don't really remember any individuals.
Was Sherry Meadows there at that point?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
It was right before she left,
All right.
and
Um,
she was most helpful.
oh yeah. Yes. Um, so then how did you get involved in association leadership? How did you get there? Did somebody do an ask for you to become involved or?
Yes, I was contacted by, um, I guess it was a recruiting group of people. I was called by 3 or 4 people and asked if I would get involved.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, well, don't be critical unless you've been there. So I said, I'll try it.
And did you have a mentor that you looked up to in leadership or somebody you followed?
Um, yeah, quite a lot, actually. Vicki Cox Golder was one.
Okay.
Laura Mance was one. Um, there were a number of people who I looked up to and thought were good leaders.
So during your year as president, what was your biggest accomplishment or
Well,
what was going on?
our attorney, Mike Monroe, kept advising that we needed to split out the MLS and the association for tax purposes. And we finally did it that year. And
Oh,
that was
okay.
quite a challenge because there were people who didn't think we should do that and others who were all for it. So, like anything, we had some discussions about it and finally decided to go with Mr. Monroe's advice. However, in 2005, when I was president of the Green Valley Association, Ms. Monroe was that attorney as well and advising the same thing. But at that time, the Green Valley Association voted not to. I think they since have, but at any rate, that was quite a challenge.
To the best of my knowledge, you are our only president that has been a president of another local association. So that's
Correct.
yeah, you've got a gold star there or something for doing this not once but twice. And what do you think the biggest accomplishment was? Did I ask you that already, or
Well, sort of you did, but
okay?
there was a lot of fear and anxiety about going into the year 2000, the old Y2K, and our computers were all going to crash because they couldn't handle the 2008. And none of that happened, but at that time, people were
It was
stocking up on food. I
a
think that's
real
where
thing.
the prepping started. Yeah, it was really scary.
Yeah, just
And
the
I think
sheer
just getting
fear.
through that year um, whole was quite an accomplishment.
So did you serve on any Arizona Association or National Association committees along the way?
No, I didn't. While I had been director of education for the ADRE, I had met a lot of the people in the uh, state and national associations, and I had already worked with them, and so I just didn't feel it was necessary to do so again.
Okay. So pretty much you kept it local other than when you spent that time then at ADRE.
Right.
Any other thoughts about your term while you were president?
Well, I enjoyed it. It was difficult at times. You know, keeping people in lively discussions that stay congenial is sometimes difficult, but yeah, it was very beneficial.
And just out of curiosity, so you did that in 2000 and then 15 years later, you're president of Green Valley,
No,
right?
5 years later.
5 years later, I'm sorry, 5 years later. How did the two compare in terms of your, I mean, how things are done in Green Valley versus, do they reflect each other? Are they very different or?
No, pretty similar actually. But I had known the people involved in Green Valley for a longer period of time. So I think in some respects it was easier. And it's a much smaller association.
Yeah. So let's jump over. Well, at this point, what we're going to do is I end the interview with 7 quick questions and hoping for 7 quick answers. And they're all pretty easy. First, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word is constituency.
Oh, constituency. Okay. What's your least favorite word?
Um, hate.
Yeah. And what turns you on?
Music.
Okay. And what turns you off?
Uh, Negative attitude.
And what profession other than real estate would you have liked to have attempted?
Oh, I wanted to be a school teacher, a high school English teacher.
Well, you got a little bit of that when you were at ADRE in a way, didn't you?
Yes, I edited the law book
Yeah.
and wrote classes that I put together a program with some of the staff at ADRE, and we went around to the different associations and gave classes. So I think that came about that way.
And is there any profession that you're super glad you didn't attempt?
I'm sure there are a number of them.
All right. Well, in closing, if you could do a shout out to anyone living or not in the real estate community, who would it be and why?
Oh, oh my goodness. It would be Helene Rogers, who did pass away a number of years ago, but she was a leader in the Green Valley community and a fine, upstanding woman. I
Oh,
admired her
nice.
greatly.
Wonderful. Well, Donna, that's it. We're all the way through.
Nice.
I know. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your knowledge in that, which future leaders are just going to enjoy, I'm sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Steve.
All right, let me